Who are the Grey Knights? The Grey Knights are a Space Marine chapter that specializes in the hunting and extermination of chaos demons. They are legendary, and although nominally a chapter of the Astartes, they are in the Chamber Militant of the Inquisition. Each member of the chapter undergoes a grueling and torturous selection process, and even once inducted, their harsh training is without equal. In battle, they move as an army of silver ghosts, surrounded by awe and equipped to the teeth to deal with the worst foes that chaos can raise to meet them. Ever since the chapter's founding, only the Inquisition and chapter masters have been allowed to know of the Grey Knights' existence. Many chapters believe the Grey Knights to be a myth, if they have even heard of them at all. To battle such enemies as demons, creatures that are not of this realm but formed of sorcery and madness, a Grey Knight must embrace the power of the warp to battle a demon with its own weapons. Each Grey Knight is an accomplished, powerful psyker whose psychic presence to creatures of the warp, they are trained to channel their psychic energies into a halo of protective wards known as ages. Thusly armored, a Grey Knight's presence becomes unpalpable to demons, making him immune to corruption, able to wield forbidden black magic, harness tainted artifacts, and skewer blasphemous tomes, all without risk of being overwhelmed by the cursed power of chaos. The Grey Knights hold a unique honor among the chapters of the Adeptus Astartes. In over 10,000 years of service, not a single one of their members has ever defected to chaos. Their armor is left unpainted, leaving the silver gray of the ceramite exposed. This tradition is thought to have originated from their desire to lead lives of absolute purity. Acid etched into their left gauntlet, as well as tattooed upon the flesh beneath, is the sigil of Malcador the Sigillite. Upon achieving the rank of Justicar, one may display their personal heraldry in a shield on their shoulder. In contrast to their armor is highly decorated, encrusted with protective symbols and engraved Latines. Much of the Grey Knights' history remains in mystery and secrecy, or has been purposely removed from the archives. However, according to legend, the Grey Knights began as a project during the final days of the Horus Heresy. The Emperor foresaw that the heresy would likely end at such a great personal cost to himself that he would be prevented from actively defending mankind from the great threat of chaos and its demons. So he set in motion a plan to form a defense against such evil. Malcador the Sigillite, closest of the Emperor's servants, was sent to search across the Imperium for men suitable to rise to such a burden. Malcador found 12 worthy champions. 4 were lords and administrators, and 8 were space marines from both loyalist and traitor legions. This included survivors of the Eisenstein incident, Nathaniel Garro, Amandra Kendall, Lumino Gammon, and Kirill Sinderman. During the founding of the organization, others would join them, including Tylos Rubio, Meiser Warren, Janus, Ephesthemus, Chiron, and Garvio Loken. Many of the space marines that joined the cause hailed from legions that had turned traitor, though they themselves had remained loyal to the Emperor. However, not all of these knights errant would go on to form the Grey Knights. Ultimately, shortly before the siege of Terra, Malcador gathered the original Grey Knights to his side. Their original identities were made secret, but were known to history as Janus, Epithianus, Chiron, Koios, Ogin, Apto, Uton, and Satyr. Once they had been gathered, the Emperor surveyed the chosen recruits and granted both his approval and consent to proceed with the project. So the recruits split ways to go off towards separate tasks. The 4 lords ventured off to lay the framework of the Inquisition, whilst the Space Marines and Malcador traveled to Saturn's moon of Titan. Titan, through Malcador's mystical means, had been hidden away from the ravages of the Horus Heresy. When they arrived, they found the fortress monastery already fully prepared and stocked with everything necessary to create a new army of space marines, including supplies of gene seed, which is suspected to have been taken from the Emperor directly, and all the necessary armaments. The fortress was also already populated with hundreds upon hundreds of suitable recruits from across the galaxy. Some were raw and untrained, whilst others were selected in secret from among the ranks of the Loyalist legions. This new army would be a chapter, a smaller, tighter brotherhood of space marines than a legion. Malcador could no longer remain and thus appointed Janus, one of the 8 original space marines, to be the Grey Knight's leader and take the title of Supreme Grand Master. Before leaving, Malcador cast his greatest enchantment yet. He hid Titan away from Horus on the most unlikely of places, inside the warp itself. Titan was protected by Marco Geller fields and sigillic rites, whilst the final battles of the heresy took place in real space. When Titan eventually returned, the second founding was taken place, whilst in the warp, time had passed at a greater rate for Titan, and so it had emerged not with the original 8 Space Marines and their raw recruits, but with a full chapter of 1,000 fully trained Battle Brothers. The second founding was being directed by the newly formed Inquisition under the control of the same lords who Malcador had selected years before. So they secretly included the Grey Knights amongst a growing list of new chapters. Despite there being barely 400 chapters commissioned at the time, the Grey Knights, different from all other new chapters, were embedded with Inquisition to serve as the chamber militant of the Ordo Malleus to fight against all things demonic. Kirill Sinderman, later known as Inquisitor Laston, survived for 1,500 years until the end of the War of the Beasts. After being poisoned by High Lord Draken, head of the Assassinorum, he confided in fellow Inquisitor Wyanad that he was the last of the 4 Inquisitors to know of the founding of the Grey Knights. He revealed that he ordered the Grey Knights to battle the forces of chaos during the centuries following the Horus Heresy, but knowledge of them were kept to only himself, the Grey Knights, and those who were currently deceased. They were too important of a force to be wasted during the War of the Beast, and the current structure of the Inquisition would prevent them from being used properly to defeat the threat of chaos. Before dying, Sinderman impaired to hear a code chip that allowed her access to Titan and to meet with Supreme Grand Master Janus. Once having navigated through the various environmental protections offered by the moon, she discussed the splitting of the Inquisition into the Ordo Xenos and Ordo Malleus, and with the Grey Knights serving as Ordo Malleus's chamber militant. She later died on Terra a century later after helping to ensure the Vangerich was overthrown, leaving it unclear as to the restructuring of the Inquisition was yet implemented or not. During the First War for Armageddon, an entire Grey Knight Terminator Brotherhood held back the last large-scale incursion, but incurred heavy losses. Leader of the task force, Brother Captain Orlean, died after personally banishing the demon Prince Angron back to the warp. Altogether, a bodyguard of over a dozen powerful bloodthirster demons, along with countless other minions of Khorne, were destroyed by the Grey Knights, effectively ending the Inquisition, or the incursion. Only about a dozen Grey Knights survived the climactic battle, but the demonic horde was completely decimated. The war is also notable for the veterans that survived, including future Grand Masters Vorth Mordrak and Mandalus, Brother Captains Arvin Stern, Kaden Varn, and Dark Tegvar, and the current Constellan of Purifier Brotherhood, Garin Crow. After the war, the Grey Knights were instrumental in purging the Imperial Guard and civilian survivors to cleanse any remaining taint of chaos. The Grey Knights also purged a multitude of planets and outposts that come into any contact with their survivors. This led them into a conflict with the Space Wolves and the death of Grandmaster Joros at the hands of Logan Grimmer. Some in the Grey Knights dubbed the entire aftermath of the war and ensuing conflict with the Space Wolves to be the Months of Shame. During Noctis Aeterna, the formation of the Great Rift at the beginning of M42, the Imperium was beset by an unprecedented number of demonic outbreaks. The Grey Knights were at the forefront of the fighting in the subsequent Terran Crusade and Battle of Lion's Gate on Terra. In the aftermath, the Grey Knights worked desperately to curb demonic outbreaks in the Dark Imperium and beyond, and during these campaigns they were forced to annihilate billions of Imperial citizens. Hello everyone, this is your boy Travis J, and thank you for tuning in. But before you go, I wanted to let you know that my new book, DSE Archives Volume 1, is out now on Amazon and LuLu.com. You can download it on Kindle for free through Kindle Unlimited. Also, I have posted a link of an excerpt from my new book, along with the links to get your copy in the description. Thank you for all your love and support. I'm out. Peace!